Over 100 former bureaucrats have written an open letter to the Prime Minister over the politics of hate and what they have called a frenzy of hate-filled destruction in the country, questioning also the Prime Minister's deafening silence, as they have put it, as these incidents have gathered steam, particularly in BJP-ruled states. The former bureaucrats include former Home Secretaries and Foreign Secretaries of India, former police officials, from the IAS, from the IFS, and are people who've served in India's bureaucracy for decades with a distinguished record. They have said that we're witnessing a frenzy of hate-filled destruction in the country, where at the sacrificial altar are not just Muslims and other minorities, but also the Constitution itself. Joining us now is one of the most senior former bureaucrats who signed that letter, former Home Secretary GK Pillai, with us on NDTV today. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. What prompted you all to write this letter? And, you know, you've also actually distinguished between earlier communal conflagrations and what is happening now. If you could explain to our viewers what that distinction is.
Well, all of us are extremely concerned, and I think what the distinction that we are trying to draw is that now, for the first time, in a very open manner, we are seeing the state itself supporting what I would call as the hate policy and the lunatic fringes which are acting to foster communal violence and hatred in society. And that is extremely worrying, because the state is supposed to be the protector of the Constitution. It is to follow due process. It is to follow the rule of law. And if the state doesn't do that, then we are in for a very serious situation.
Clearly, and when you say that at stake, is the Constitution itself, is that a reference to, for instance, the use of bulldozers against members of the minority community accused of crimes they haven't been convicted of?
Yes, I think it is so, because you are now, earlier we had seen when the Allahabad High Court had said the state cannot be both the prosecutor, the judge, and everybody together, and they've taken action and said they've struck down the entire provisions of that UP Act. Here again, we are seeing that without any legal basis, just on what we call as whims and fancies of people on the ground, because based on an FIR or somebody says X or Y is responsible for a riot, you can't then go ahead and take law into your own hands and do what you want to do without following due process and the rule of law. And it is affecting not just Muslims or other communities, it's also affecting Hindus also, because in the mad frenzy to go ahead and do it, people are just bulldozing. You're bulldozing both Hindu houses, Hindu shops, as well as also Muslims and other communities also.
One of the highlights of your letter is the appeal to the Prime Minister, saying to him that your silence in the face of this enormous societal threat is deafening. Why do you think that he's keeping quiet? I mean, it is baffling. He's the Prime Minister of India. Is it that there is some kind of a blessing from the very top for allowing these things to happen, and that's why?
Well, he is the Prime Minister of India. He's Prime Minister for all of us. We are willing to give him, in one sense, the benefit of the doubt, which is what the Constitutional Group has done. We believe that his silence, since he hasn't spoken out specifically against this politics of hate, we believe that a situation has arisen in this country where he needs to come out openly and speak, because his own slogan, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Vikas, is itself shows that that is the slogan under which he is acting upon. And knowing his popularity as well as his influence right across the country, we felt that it would be most appropriate for us to address the Prime Minister and request him to break his silence on this issue.
Well, can I ask you, though, in terms of other institutions that need to be sort of stepping up at this time, the Prime Minister certainly, as you say, should speak up. But are you disappointed that the judiciary has not also been as proactive as it can be on issues such as hate speech, on bulldozers, etc., that there's a kind of belated realization about what's going on?
Yes, it is so. I think, one, it is the executive, it is the senior officers who are, from the IAS, the IPS, etc., who are bound by the rule of law. They are not bound by the dictates of the politician. They are to comply with the rule of law and the due process. If they don't do that, they violate that due process on their own or under the influence of anybody. I think the judiciary has a very significant role in making examples of such officers. And I think that if they make examples of even a few officers, send them to jail, you will find that the next time nobody will be willing to do it, because they'll say, give it to me in writing or something. Otherwise, I'm not willing to go to jail. Now they see the judiciary as a little soft on this. The judiciary is sort of, giving them very soft slaps, making some comments and so on, but not really taking them to task for violation of due process and the rule of law.
It's very significant what you said, sir. I mean, you've been the Home Secretary of India. You're saying that the bureaucracy today, in a sense, isn't doing its job. It's not supposed to do what its political masters tell it to do. It has to go by the law. It has to go by the rule book, and that is not happening. I mean, that's another institutional crisis then, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think senior officers have to, sort of literally read the Constitution and the IPC and the CRPC and give directions to their subordinates as to how they should implement the law. I think when you find that a law is not being implemented in its rightful spirit or due process has not been followed, I think it is the responsibility of senior officers to pull them up, and that we don't see it happening today.
All right, Mr. GK Pillai, thank you, sir, for joining us on NDTV today over that letter that has been written by you and more than 100 other colleagues in the civil services. We hope that someone out there is listening. Thank you.
Thank you.